Hey onda, thanks for watching Doing Life with Jenny. If you're new here, in June of 2023, I moved from St. Louis in the US to Mexico to the state of Hidalgo. If you've been following me for some time, you know I've been single for a while, and it has been quite the journey trying to date, both in the US and Mexico. But it has finally happened. I found a boyfriend, he is Mexican, and today I'm going to tell you how I met him. I'm going to be very vague when I mention restaurants, venues, dance genres, cities and whatnot to respect his privacy and so that no crazies out there try to track my boyfriend down. So, in the spring, I wanted to do a little trip to eat some good vegan food and to go dancing. Because in my small city or large town, those things aren't available, at least not the type of dancing I wanted to do. We'll just say that the city was within a 4 hour radius. Because it's not unlike me to wake up early, catch the bus, go enjoy a nearby city for a few hours, and come back all in one day. So I put on my dress, go to the bus station, relax on the bus, and when I arrive, I first go to eat. And it was nice eating something a little different than the usual. Then I headed to the venue. Well, in true gringa fashion, I got there right as it was supposed to start. And I knew this was a mistake, but what else was I going to do? Like I was in a place I've already been to several times before, so it wasn't like I wanted to go exploring or taking pictures or something. And I walk in, I see that the band was just starting to set up, nobody else was there. So I immediately turn around and start heading out. A waiter is running behind me saying, "Hang on, there'll be just a few minutes and we'll get started." Well, a few minutes in Mexican time is like a long time. So I knew better than to come back in like 10, 15 minutes. Because even if the band was going to be ready in 10 minutes, there was nobody else there, nobody to dance with. So I go out and sit on a bench and decide to order some pastries from a vegan gluten-free bakery. So it turns out that the bakery or Uber Eats was just taking a long time. So by the time I got my pastries, 45 minutes to an hour had passed, so I immediately head back to the venue. Well, it turns out it was more like a bar that serves food, and the point was more to just like go see the band. There wasn't much of a dance floor, although there was a small space, and there for sure wasn't anyone to dance with. It wasn't that kind of place. So I was a little disappointed because I do love to dance, and that was like the main reason I was going on this little trip. But luckily, the band was very good and obviously a genre of music that I love. So once my brain kind of calmed down that there's like no one else to dance with, I just kind of sat back and relaxed and enjoyed the band. Also, given that it wasn't a dance but like a bar restaurant, you had to order something. Well, I didn't know this and I had just eaten a big dinner, so I ordered the cheapest thing, the smallest thing on the menu that was Jenny friendly, which were the homemade potato chips, which were like $7 and very nasty. The little 50-cent pack from the corner store tastes a lot better than those. Anyway, so I'm enjoying the band, and there's this one member that caught my attention. He was very handsome, very much what I look for physically. I most definitely have a type. If you know me in person, you know I have a type. He is my type. He is very talented, playing 2 instruments in the band as well as singing. And he was the one that did all of the speaking, telling us what song they're playing next and introducing the band members at the end. So yeah, he kind of got my attention. I'm like wondering, okay, so we have at least one thing in common, music. If you didn't know, I originally went to college to be a music teacher. I wanted to be a music teacher since I was in 3rd grade, but I ended up just getting a music minor. And I'm also a singer-songwriter. So I'm thinking, okay, does he even live in this city? Because maybe the band was hired to come from another city. Well, he's cute. We at least have one thing in common, so what am I going to do about it? Well, I text my friend and I say, hey, this is what's going on. I think I want to leave my phone number for him. So I started forming a plan and getting some courage. And then I took the easy way out. I saw a tip jar there in front of the stage, and I'm like, okay, I can just drop my phone number in the tip jar. You don't have to talk to anyone. And plus, I had to catch the bus to come back home. I knew I probably wasn't going to stay until the end to be able to like talk to him in person. So I'm thinking, okay, I'm gonna put my number in the tip jar, and I just so happened to pack an ink pen. I don't know why. I didn't take my usual purse. I took my little reusable shopping bag because I figured I would have leftovers and I wanted to put my jacket in there because it gets chilly at night in these parts of Mexico. So I just happened to toss an ink pen in there. I'm like, okay, I do have a pen. I mean, of course, I could have asked the waiter as well. But I'm like, okay, what am I going to write my phone number on? Well, then I look and I see the receipt from the pastries I purchased. So I tore off the bottom of the receipt. And I said, this is for, and I listed the instruments that he plays in the band. And I wrote my phone number. And I'm like, okay, there aren't many people here. There were maybe 10 people there. And at this point, there may have been even less. I'm like, I cannot just go put a piece of paper in the tip jar because it's one, see-through, so it's going to be obvious that it's not a tip, and two, there's nobody else going up to the tip jar. It's going to be obvious that it was me. I mean, of course, like eventually he needed to know it was me, but that wasn't the moment. So I got out some tip money and I wrapped my phone number inside of a 50 peso bill, and when I went to the restroom, I just dropped it in, and then I went to the bathroom and came back and sat down. Well, at this point, it was time for me to go so I wouldn't miss the bus. Honestly, I kept telling myself, just one more song, just one more song. I think there's another bus after this one. But I wasn't positive, so I was taking a big gamble. Because I knew if I missed my bus, I could get one to Pachuca, but then there wasn't going to be any more from Pachuca home, and it would be a very expensive taxi ride. But I'm like, just one more, just one more. And finally, I'm like, okay, I have to get to the bus station. So then I get on the bus and come home. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to hear from him tonight because it's going to be late by the time he gets home and settled. He might not even see it tonight. So I'm thinking, okay, I'll probably hear from him tomorrow. Well, tomorrow came and went, and I didn't hear from him. So I'm thinking, okay, he probably has a girlfriend or a wife. Well, great that he's not a cheater, right? Or I'm thinking, okay, maybe he has like another job and music is just like his weekend, evening gig, and like he's busy. So maybe it'll take a day or two for him to get back with me. Well, the week went by, and kind of as the days went on, I kind of forgot about the situation. And then about a week later, I get a message saying, hey, this is Alex, you left your phone number. So I introduced myself. I sent a picture just so he knew with whom he was speaking, and in case he recognized me from that night. And then I explained why I left my phone number, because he had kind of thought it could be about wanting to hire the band for an event or wanting music lessons. But I told him, no, I saw you and I thought you were cute. I'm also a musician just for fun, not professionally by any means. And I'm also a singer-songwriter, so I just thought, hey, I would shoot my shot. So surprisingly, he was single and he said, "Oh yeah, you're cute too." And we just started texting, getting to know each other, and like the more I learned about him, the more I realized we have a lot in common. He's like on the verge of being vegetarian and I'm vegan. Like he will eat some seafood and chicken if there aren't other options. I don't drink at all. He doesn't really drink. And the list goes on and on and on. But it's just like the more I got to know him, the better he got. Usually it's the other way around. After 5 minutes, I already see 5 red flags. Okay, ciao. So everything was going really, really well. So we made plans to meet. So it was 1 week until he texted me finally. And then it was another week before we were able to meet just because of our schedules and the distance. So I went to his city. It was just going to be easier because he had a gig that morning, so I could be on my way while he was working. But if you saw my video about me getting very sick, it was this week that I got very, very sick. I was so sick that I almost canceled because I knew I wasn't going to make a very good first impression. I knew I wasn't going to be talkative. I knew I wasn't going to be like funny or sarcastic. I knew I was going to have like kind of this face, you know how when you're sick. But I'm like, I really, really, but I was like, I really, really, really want to go meet him. So I'm like, hey, Alex, I'm going to come, but I do not feel well at all. So just know, like, usually I'm a little bit, so just know, usually I have a little bit more of a personality. And plus, I get shy on the first date anyway, right? So the combination was kind of going to be disastrous. So I get there, we have lunch. He's a little bit shy too, so there wasn't much conversation, but I definitely still thought he was cute now that I saw him up close and with the lights on because at the venue it had been dark. And really, I was just trying not to puke or pass out the whole time. We ate, we walked around his city a bit, we happened upon a museum that was open and free. And like during the museum, I had to sit down because I was getting ready to pass out. And then we went to the park to sit down and talk a bit. And it really wasn't like an awkward silence, but there was definitely way too much silence. And I didn't feel like he got to know me. I didn't feel like I got to know him any better. But I could definitely tell, like, okay, if we give it another shot when I'm feeling better, like, definitely I could see this going somewhere. So we did spend the whole day together until, like, I had to go to catch the last bus possible. I didn't feel any chemistry at all, but in the back of my brain, I knew there was something about him and that the chemistry would come later. So we kept texting a lot, and then 2 weeks later, yeah, because that's like every 2 weeks I see him. 2 weeks later, he came to see me in my city. I tried to take him swimming, but it was one of the few places in my neck of the woods that does not have thermal waters. The water was so cold, and even though it was abnormally hot that day, the water was just too cold. We did get in, but we just weren't having fun. So we left and got some pizza and brought it home, tried to watch a movie, but we kept picking terrible movies. So by this point, I was mostly feeling better, but I still had a terrible headache. Like, I thought my brain was going to squeeze out of my eyes, nose, and ears, that kind of headache. And I explained that to him, telling him, like, hey, I'm feeling better, but my head is going to explode, so I'm sorry if I'm still not talkative or whatnot. And he was very understanding. And again we were both still shy too. And by this point, like, and between the texting and seeing him the second time, I knew I liked him, but something was still off. There was just still no chemistry. It didn't feel like natural. It felt a little bit forced, but I knew we were heading in the right direction. So we keep on texting, keep on texting. 2 weeks go by, and that's when we went on our trip to Tlaxcala. Unfortunately, he had a gig, so he could only join me for one day. But finally, during this trip, I felt 100% health wise. Things just started to feel more natural, like we could joke around with each other. And I finally felt the chemistry. And when it was time for him to catch the bus to go home, he gave me this necklace. I don't know if I've shown it to you guys before. It's a little sheep. And I'm like, oh, did you get that for me? Because I live in Hidalgo, which is known for its barbacoa or sheep meat, which he doesn't eat meat anyways besides chicken, and nor do I. But he's like, oh, I didn't think about that. He's like, I just thought it was cute. And it was a bit of an awkward situation because during our Tlaxcala trip, I had kind of talked about how I'm not really a gift person because if I need something, well, I'll buy it. And like it's awkward if I don't like it or whatever. So he's like, I know you said you don't like gifts, but I had already got this for you. I'm like, no, actually, I like this. I think it's cute. I will actually wear it. And I do. Like if I'm wearing a graphic tee, no, but if it's like a plain t-shirt or like something nicer, I do wear it several times a week. And I had forgotten that I wrote him a note that I was going to send him with at the end of the trip, but I was having such a good time that I forgot about it. I'm like, I'm sorry I didn't get you anything. And then when it was time for me to get back in the car, I saw it there in the car. I'm like, oh, actually, I did. So I sent him a picture of it. Yeah, and then after the trip, a day or two later, he did ask me to be his girlfriend. And of course, I said yes. And things have been going really, really well. This whole time, the more I get to know him, the better he gets. Because usually it's the opposite. The more you get to know somebody, the more you're like, I don't know if I can deal with that, or you see different like little habits that bother you, or the red flags start to appear. But no, with him, it has been incredible. So I met him 3 months ago now, but we've been officially dating for 2 months. I'm trying not to get my hopes too high because just because he's incredible doesn't mean that I don't have my flaws. We'll see if he can deal with my flaws. I'm trying to be on my best behavior because he's too amazing to lose. So yeah, there's the tea. If you want to see more content about me living in Mexico, be sure to like, subscribe, and turn on that notification bell. Adios!